Okay, I think I'm live. Hello. I'm using StreamYard today. Just, mix things up, have fun. Why not? Also, because I've noticed recently that people can like feature comments and stuff through StreamYard, so that might be fun. Welcome to Tuesday evenings with Books Like Whoa. Hope y'all are good. I should probably mention somewhere that I went live. I put it up on Instagram. Okay. Anyway, hey, hope you guys are doing well. I'm doing okay. I'm doing okay. Okay, cool. People are here. Hi. Um, yeah, it's we're living, we're thriving ish. I don't know, guys. There's a I'm gonna call it a 60% chance I'm gonna have to have follow-up surgery. And I am trying real hard not to get bummed out about that. But welcome any healing vibes, but that has been very much on my mind. Luckily I'm feeling a lot better, but I'm not getting better, which is annoying. So that's very much on my mind, but you know, I'm happy I'm otherwise healthy and I have a job and house and all of you lovely people, so we'll try to focus on that. Hello. I'm seeing lots of people. Hi. This week I thought I have a couple of questions left over from last week, but I thought maybe this week we could talk about a depressing topic, I guess, which is all of the book releases that are getting pushed further into the year slash sometimes into next year, which is real sad. Some of them are ones that the release date was already kind of on, so I'm not super surprised that it's therefore getting pushed. But some of them were books I was excited about slash books that I think that have like they've already been written, they're ready to go. They're just pushing them back in the year. It does open up a bigger question about why they're choosing to push so many releases back in the year, because at some point they're cannibalizing. Like, I was reading about this from Ron Charles. Oh, thank you, Jamie. I'm gonna practice, guys. We're gonna see if this works. Well, if yes, there we go. Thank you, Jamie. Okay, that was my first time showing a comment. I'm real excited. This is why I tried to use StreamYard today, because I'm getting fancy. Oh, not actually, but kind of. Anyway, I was reading an article from Ron Charles where he was talking about at what point, so because of, ye old worldwide issues, um, a lot of books that were supposed to get released in April, May, June, and even July, August have been pushed into the fall or the winter. And to some degree, I understand why, and I think it's affirming in terms of um, it shows publishers' confidence or belief in the importance of having in-person hand selling from bookstore personnel. Basically, like the thought is, these books will not do as well if they're not getting that kind of support from booksellers in real life. So, I mean, I think that's kind of neat in terms of seeing that they see the value of that. So I guess that's kind of nice. The other piece, obviously, is that economically, there's a lot of Derman strong right now. And so there's the thought of, well, maybe people don't have the disposable income to buy a book right now, which I guess is somewhat logical. But the article I was reading from Ron Charles was pointing out that at some point you start robbing Peter to pay Paul, because let's say that there were 10 books this year you were interested in buying or interested in reading that were coming out in 2020. And 5 of them were in the spring and 5 of them were in the fall. They're banking on the idea that moving those 5 to the fall and then having 10 books you're interested in, people will still buy all 10 of those. And I think for probably somebody who's watching a live stream of a booktuber, maybe you would. I probably would. But I don't know that like a typical reader, unless it's just an author that they really love or whatever, I guess I just don't totally believe that all of those sales will be preserved. And you're now competing with more books for some of those top placements. So like being able to say, this is a New York Times bestseller. Well, now you have like a higher pool of books that you're competing to be able to say that about. So I don't know. It's an interesting strategy. Let's see here. Mary says, I prefer to go to a store and buy a book. Not an online shopper unless I have to be not a normal 26-year-old. I do enjoy going into bookstores to buy books. I do think the fact that I read a lot of genre fiction, unless I'm going to go to like one of the big bookstores, kind of limits my ability to casually shop in person anyway. Like, there's no independent bookstore in my area besides a used bookstore that sells romance, for example, or really even I guess Parnassus has a decent sci-fi fantasy section and a decent mystery section, but yeah, I think it's harder to buy books in person for me. So I enjoy that experience, but I find that in-person book shopping often doesn't have, I guess also I'm a power reader. So like I'm more likely to have read the books that they tend to have in stock. I don't know. Anyway, I appreciate though, Mary, that you are a lover of the in-person experience because it's lovely. Kay says, I'm trying to avoid giving Amazon any of my money, so it's difficult with no bookstores. I hear you. I will tell you though, Parnassus has been delivering books to me faster. Parnassus is my local independent bookstore. They are getting books to me faster than Amazon is right now, which is really impressive. So I don't know. I don't know if you have a local independent bookstore and see how quickly they can get things out to you. So anyway, I've just been thinking, I've been kind of keeping my eye on all of the depressing changes with the book release dates. I'm trying to find where I put my links that had all of the changes. Oh no, what happened? Did I close that tab by accident? That is possible. That does sound like me. Let's see if I can find them in my history. But anyway, I've been tracking some of those changes in the book release dates, and I thought maybe we could just talk about some of the ones that I thought were particularly of interest to me or notable. And then obviously if you guys want to chat about something else, we can, but I thought that might be interesting. Okay, let's see here. 2 things I've been thinking. Oh, to kind of sit up tall to not be hidden by the comment. One, I've heard that all publishers are up in profits because people are reading right now. Second, that it's really difficult to launch debut authors and get attention. Yeah, it's always a challenge to debut authors always have somewhat of a hard go of it unless they're just getting a real marketing push. So that's always true. But yeah, I think in these times, it's kind of more difficult for them to get visibility. I did a live stream for the Social Distance Book Fest. And maybe if I get my act together, I'll remember to put a timestamp to that video in the description, because the last part I was asking the authors what they thought we could do to support debuts or just releases right now. And I thought they had some really good insight. And one idea that they had that I thought was really good, I think this was Megan, said right now, authors are at home. So if you have a book club and you pick their book, there's a decent chance you could get them to like Zoom in and join your book club discussion, which I thought was a really cool idea. And I thought, oh, if you're a debut author and you like made it known, sorry, I spit randomly, you made it known that you're available to do that. I bet that would be something people would be really into. But yeah, it is, I think, just hard. The profit thing, I'm glad to hear that, that they're doing okay during these times. I do have a couple of friends who work for publishers and so far haven't had any crazy, workforce reductions yet. So that's good. But yeah, I just think it's hard to cut through the noise of everything else that's going on right now for books unless they're, I guess, kind of highly anticipated. But again, some of these things that are getting pushed, like one of the biggest titles, not one that I care about, but one that's a big one, was the latest Diary of a Wimpy Kid entry. Like, I guess I just don't totally understand why you need to push that out, because like people who are into that are going to be buying it either which way. Like, I more understand it for the ones that you're worried about people missing, but for big titles that you have a built-in audience to buy them, I guess I'm just a little like, now is the time where people have time to read them. I don't know. I guess I'm sure that they think that that is the best route that is most likely to gain them sales. But I guess for me, just for some of these, I found them to be a little bit of a head scratcher. Ugh, guys, what did I do with these links? I should have double checked that I had them up before I went live, but that would have required me, thinking before I just hit live. Oh, we'll get there. I'll find it. Okay. I like buying books at the store. I do love getting books in the mail. I agree. All the indie bookstores by me are closed and not doing online ordering. That's too bad. If you do want to support independent bookstores, if you go to bookshop.org, you can just pick a bookstore and support them, or just generally, if you buy from that site, some of the proceeds go to the member stores. So that's, in the US at least, that's a good alternative. I think CL Taylor said that in the UK, the equivalent is hive.org.uk. And I can tell you, if you're looking for just a random independent bookstore that is getting things out the door very quickly, Parnassus, like I said, has been doing a great job of getting me books very quickly. Hey, Joey. Glad you could make it. Yes, we're here Tuesdays at 8. Any recommendation for legal thriller or drama involves courtroom that is not John Grisham? I've not yet read this, but I've heard Miracle Creek by Angie Kim is great, and that is on my TBR. That is the one that comes to mind. Let's see here. What's so crazy is I've heard that since the virus hit hard in China, they don't have the physical paper to print them. Ooh, that maybe that's a part of it, is the supply chain. Yeah, for sure. Hey, Nanette. It's also really difficult for books with pictures because they can't get the proof versions in time to meet other deadlines. Interesting. Hi, Alicia. I'm feeling okay physically, but I was mentioning at the beginning, it sounds like there's a very high chance I'm going to have a revision surgery. So not feeling great about that. But at least I keep telling myself it will not be as traumatizing. If it has to happen, we will be able to schedule it. It will not be septic, hopefully. So hopefully this will be a much less awful experience if it has to happen again. It should be, I'm hoping it could be like an outpatient kind of thing instead of like a 3 days in the hospital kind of thing. But no, I'm feeling, I'm sitting. You can see I feel better this week than I did last week for sure during the stream. Oh, okay. What did I do? Haha, there it is. Okay. I found a couple of these articles I was looking for. Let's see here. Where is that other? I had 2 articles up here that I had been using. Let's see here. Okay, I'll go back over here. Okay, at least I can start with some of these. So ones that I know about that have had their release date changed. I mentioned that Diary of a Wimpy Kid seems to be um, one of the bigger ones that has changed. Ones that I care about that I've seen change. Um, so two notable ones. One is that The Gilded Ones by Namina Forna was supposed to come out this spring and has gotten pushed back to February next year. So that is a big change, and I believe that was a debut. Um, so that is a pretty, I mean, that's really almost a year. She'd already started doing some of her publicity for that release. That's I think it is YA, but it's a fantasy. Sounds like the girl is training to be a warrior. It sounds really cool, and it's getting a big push. So I think that's one that was on a lot of people's radars. The other one that I'm really sad is getting pushed out is The Bride Bet by Tessa Dare. Was supposed to come out in August, and it is now coming out next February, which makes me really sad. So basically, she had a novella that was going to come out in February. The Bride Bet was going to come out in August, and they switched their release dates. So now there will still be a novella coming out in August from her, which is nice. But the last book in the little quartet she's been writing won't come out until next February. So that is definitely a bummer. Do you enjoy reading more than watching movies? I definitely do. I struggle to pay attention in movies, to be honest, these days. Unless I actually go to the theater, I really do struggle to pay attention during a movie just casually at home. So I do. I particularly like classic movies more than newer releases. So that may be part of it. Let's see here. What about Blood and Honey? Is that still coming out? Let me double check. I believe it still is. My pre-order has not changed the date on it yet. And yeah, Goodreads is still showing it as coming out in September. So as of now, that one has not been pushed. Another one that got pushed from May to August was a rom-com called The Wrong Mr. Darcy, which is by Evelyn Lozada. So that's still coming out this year, but it has been pushed by, looks like, about 4 months. So a little bit of a push there. Let's see here. What other ones had I made note of? Let's see here. Yep, The Gilded Ones I think looks really good. Haven't looked, but I thought there was a new Jasmine Guillory coming out. Yeah, I believe that there is. I think the NetGalley dates on that seem like they're holding steady. I haven't read the first in that series, and frankly, some of the coverage of that author has made me a little shy about diving into those books, but I know people really enjoy them, so I should probably just get over that. One of the books I was expecting has been released, but I can't order it yet. Maybe in June, hopefully. Let's see. I struggle paying attention to movies too, sometimes even with TV. Yeah, that's people all the time, especially when they're new to the channel, will ask me how I read so much. Honestly, like one of the number one reasons why I read so much is that I cannot focus really on TV normally. It's very difficult when I'm in my house, like focusing on something on the television without multitasking is very difficult for me. So that's why I tend to quite like, like reality or like nonfiction TV more, because it's actually quite hard for me to focus enough to pay attention to like a plot line in TV or movies these days. For whatever reason, that seems to be kind of where my head is at these days. Okay, I'm trying to find the little listy poo of ones that I thought would be of interest to people, and I'm still struggling. Let's see here. Okay, here we go. Um, so in total, about 145 titles have been pushed as of late March. I think that there's been more than that since then. Okay, yeah. So I'm reading, this is from Publishers Weekly, by the way. Among the big five houses, Simon and Schuster looks to be the one most aggressively moving titles into other months or other seasons to avoid publishing during the outbreak. Um, Adam Rothberg from Simon & Schuster estimated that on the adult side, the house has already moved 145 titles. He said the house's aim is to maximize sales for each title we publish in the marketplace as it exists today, and that it is redoubling those efforts under the current circumstances. So it seems like Simon & Schuster and all of their imprints are the ones who were the most trigger happy to do that. Like I mentioned, the Wimpy Kid book moved from April 7th to August 4th. Let's see here. For now, so it sounds like they're talking about moving out that Hunger Games book, but I don't know if they ever actually did that. But they were thinking about it for sure. Let's see here. Yeah. That seemed to be the biggest one. And then I know that there was a good Book Riot listy poo that had a nice rundown of the ones that they thought were interesting that were getting pushed out, but I can't seem to find it right now. Let's see here. Do you have any recommendations for angsty romance? The light and fluffy stuff doesn't do it for me. I'm somebody who doesn't really love angst and romance, so I'm not going to give you, I won't be able to give you like the full court press because it's just not my favorite mode. Books that tend to have a little more pathos to them that I enjoy, I would say Courtney Milan. If you've not read her, I think she tends to have a lot of emotion in her books. I think The Bride Test by Helen Huang, I found to have a lot of feelings to it. So I'd recommend that. Sarah McLean, I think, has a lot of emotion. Sherry Thomas in historical tends to have a lot of that. I have a higher tolerance for it in historical than I do in contemporary often. But those are some of the ones that first come to mind. I'll think about it if I think of anything else. What about the next book in J.D. Robb series? Is that being pushed back too? No, it hasn't yet. And I, based on some conversations with the publisher, I don't think they're going to do that yet, but who knows? I mean, they may change their mind. That's a good example of one where, because it's the 51st book in a series and because the author is so well known, you know, I'm just not sure what the benefit in some ways of doing that is, because people are going to buy it or get it from the library when it comes out if you are keeping up with that series. So I think as opposed to like a debut author, there's less benefit in pushing it. Unless they're physically struggling in their supply chain to produce the books, then maybe. Did you order anything from the Sephora sale? Nothing interesting. I ordered I keep these everywhere. I ordered a new sleep mask from Laneige because this is my favorite little lip balm. And now that I'm in the house all the time, I have one in the two main places I sit. I ordered some more conditioner, and I did my fun thing that I let myself get was one of those little Kaja bento boxes because I really like that formula. Yeah, I used to love buying books in bookshops, but the local ones are more and more disappointing. You can't find a book, they're a mess. They're not organized by genre or author. For me, and then in the beginning, they used to be organized by publishers, but customers never placed books in the same spots, which as a former bookseller, I can tell you is like literally life. Um, I don't my experience with my local independent bookstores is not that they're a mess. They're actually like beautifully kept, but it's more just that because they're so small, they only can carry so many titles. And I think because I'm what is called a power reader, a lot of the titles that they're carrying are very popular, but may not be of interest to me, either because I've already read them or because I have more like specific taste. So that tends to be my struggle with like the in-store merchandise for my local bookshops. It's more just their inventory often doesn't really align with my needs or taste. Now at a used bookstore, McKay's is like gigantic. So they have more stuff that I want, but it's not predictable because it's a used bookstore. So let's see here. I group texted my book club suggesting inviting the author, but they thought it'd be awkward if we didn't like the book. Well, that is a fact. So I guess that's true. I just got my copy of the Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires. Yay! I have mine too. It's over there. You can't see it, but it is over there. One of my best friends just finished up the audio and she really, really loved it. So I'm excited to dive into that. Let's see if I can keep combing through my history and find the article that I'm looking. Oh, I forgot you can search your history. That's so convenient. Thank you. This would have probably been back in March. Okay. Some local bookstores will order them for you. That's true, and that's really the main way I've been using them right now. So that is true. They will order for you. I just finished Sadie yesterday. Wow, that was a good one. Yeah, it is. It's really good. It's also really intense. So I would give a lot of trigger warnings for it. And I also just really strongly don't feel like it's YA. I know that's how it's sold, but I really struggle with that. And so that makes it hard for me to recommend it to people because, well, let me rephrase that. It's not that it's hard to recommend it to people. I feel like I can't recommend it as a YA book. I mean, honestly, it's purely based on the age of the protagonist too. Like the protagonist is not a teen. So, but it's very well done. Seems like all the books I want to read are getting moved to next year. Yeah, they keep moving them out. It bums me out, but such is life. Let's see here. 2020 releases. Oh, yay! I'm on chapter 7 of Murder on the Orient Express, and it's very good. I'm glad you were enjoying it. It's obviously one that I really love. But you know, I'm very biased because I love Agatha Christie so much. Oh, good. I'm glad the booktuber who recommended it to you gave you a lot of trigger warnings for Sadie. What am I reading? I just finished A Memory Called Empire by Arcady Martine and really enjoyed it. I thought it was very good. It's a sci-fi space opera-y kind of thing. I guess space opera. It's not, it's just sort of like politics in space, but I really like that. I like kind of political machinations or political intrigue. So that for me was just fine. But I thought it was really good. It was really well written. It's a, culture based on, um, like, Aztec stuff, and, it was different. It was interesting. The characters were really compelling. It was had some pacing issues, I think, in the plot, but I thought it was really good. Let's see here. Aaron says, I think I need to figure out a new genre to read instead of just thriller and mystery, but not sure which genre. I think it will get old if I don't mix it up more. Yeah, I like being able to mix it up. I would suggest finding other genre books that are that have the good thing about liking a mystery thriller is that that is often the plot engine of other genres. Like it's a mystery plot, but just in a different genre. So that might be a good gateway. Like if you like a mystery sci-fi, I think Six Wakes is really good by Mur Lafferty. It's like a um they're traveling through space and they all have like clones in the, you know, storage bay. I don't know. I'm not good with science, guys. Like I'm not good with all the sci-fi stuff, but um they have like their clones in storage and they all wake up, their consciousnesses wake up in the new clone bodies all of a sudden because all of their old bodies were murdered and they don't know which of them killed their old bodies. So now they have to figure out who killed their old bodies. But it's sci-fi, so it has like some of that stuff in it. I think that's like a good approach into new genres is to try to find things that you like already and find books that have those in the genre you're trying to like. Um, or like, for fantasy, The Lives of Locke Lamora by Scott Lynch is sort of like a heisty, like thieving kind of plot. So it has a lot of sort of suspensey elements to it um, that might be interesting to you. Okay, here's the list I was looking for with some of the releases that I thought people might care about listed in here. Okay. I finally signed up for NetGalley today because I've been unable to satisfy my new book cravings lately. Well, there's definitely a lot of books on there. And there's also a whole section called Read Now, which are books that you don't have to get approved for. So that can be a good way to kind of build your review profile whilst you wait for it. What's good for free download on Amazon Prime this month? None of them really interested me, so I can't advise. What sci-fi book is this? Sorry, I was washing dishes. That was Six Wakes by Mur Lafferty. It's a couple years old now, but I think it's a good sci-fi thrillery kind of thing. Okay, so a couple of other releases I thought I would mention that got pushed, that I thought people might be interested in. One is The Damned by Renee Ahdieh, which I believe is a follow-up to The Beautiful, was originally going to come out on June 2nd and is now coming out on July 7th. So not too big of a push, but a little bit of one there. Let's see here. I just finished the one by John Mars. So good. I really want to try John Mars. I feel like I've seen a lot about him recently from people. He seems like somebody people really enjoy. Let's see here. Okay. Another push that I thought I'd mention because I know a lot of my watchers like him is TJ Klune has a book called The Extraordinaries that was originally supposed to come out on May 5th and is now coming out on July 14th. So not one that I had on my radar, but I know a lot of people really like him. Let's see here. What else? The new Sandhya Menon. I never know how to say her name. It's the one of when the author of When Dimple Met Rishi. She has a new book coming out called 10 Things I Hate About Pinky that was supposed to come out at the end of June and is now coming out on the 21st of July. So a little bit of a change there. Let's see here. Other ones that I thought people might care about. Oh, yeah, Samantha Downing, she had a big thriller last year, called The Perfect Wife, I think? Something like that. She has a new book coming out called He Started It, and it was originally supposed to come out on April 28th, and now it's coming out on July 28th. So that's a good 3-month shift there. Oh yeah, here's another one. Harrow the Ninth by Tamsin Muir. So that is the follow-up to Gideon the Ninth, which was not a book I enjoyed very much, but I know a lot of people really liked it, and sounded like a lot of people particularly really liked that side character of Harrow. So that was supposed to come out on June 2nd and is now coming out on August 4th. So that's a good 2-month push there. Atessa Mafi has a new book called Death in Her Hands, which I think that may have already come out internationally, but at least in the US. And in the US, it has not come out. And so it was supposed to come out on the 21st of April, and now it's coming out on the 11th of August. So that's really like a 4-month push there. I'll come back over here to comments. Can you please explain again the differences between women's fiction versus romance versus chick lit? Yeah, a lot of it has to do with kind of the types of tropes and the tone and the themes. So romance is very focused on the actual relationship that's, people getting together. And we'll often have supporting elements of like family. I think the good ones have supporting elements of like family dynamics and stuff going on at work or whatever. Like that supports the relationship, but the real focus is on the two people getting together. And there's a happily ever after at the end of it. That's like really like one of the very main deals. It is not there are romances that only have one point of view character, but it is much more common in a romance to have dueling point of views. So you get the two people getting together, or, if it's a throuple or whatever, however many people getting together will have their point of views coming in. So that's romance. Chick lit and women's fiction, I guess you can kind of think of it as like a gradient. So romance and then chick lit is pretty similar to romance. It often, I guess maybe here's the way to think about it. I would say chick lit is often closer to what in movies we would see as a rom-com. So like there is usually a romantic element to it, but there's equal weight given to the other parts of the heroine's life. And like the heroine is usually the point of view character. There's equal weight given to like her work situation, her family stuff, her friendship stuff. Like it's more just sort of a contemporary focused on a woman. And it usually has sort of like a lighter comedic tone to it. So more like a rom-com, whereas women's fiction sometimes will have a romance in it, but it doesn't have to. Women's fiction is basically a contemporary or sometimes historical fiction. I'll say that, but often a contemporary. And there's more aspiration to having like deeper thematic content. Often like the tone is a little bit more serious. It is just a little bit more of a serious book. Like it's more often like an issues book. Like here it is. Women's fiction is to adult literature what a YA contemporary issues book is to YA. Like they're more similar, but the women's fiction book is also going to be focused on women instead of either boys or girls. I don't know if any of that made sense, but in my head, like that's some of the distinctions I make. All of them have tropes that they play into. They're just different tropes. The Lovely Wife was great. Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's a Samantha Downing book. Yeah. I heard good things about that one. How long? Oh my gosh. I love this. The fact that your profile picture is Bethany Frankel crying, I'm guessing on Instagram. Iconic. I love it. How long does it normally take you to read an Agatha Christie novel? Not long. Maybe like 4 hours, 3 or 4 hours, not long. That's part of the joy is that you can speed ride through them. Currently reading Gideon the Ninth. It's definitely got a distinct style. Not sure how much I like it, but I'm giving it a go. Yeah, that's the thing. Gideon the Ninth, like, it has its own vibe. And if you like that vibe, you're going to be into the book. I didn't like the vibe enough for me to get over the problems I had with the plot and characters. But I think if you are into it, yeah, like, it's a fun ride. For his characters, what's the best Dickens book? I mean, I think that's definitely a personal taste thing. For me, Miss Havisham is iconic to me, and Pip, and yeah, so for me, Great Expectations, but I think so much of Dickens is about his characters, so really it's probably mostly about which book you like best. Okay, a couple of other releases that have been pushed back. Let's see here. Raybearer by Jordan Ifueko got pushed from April 14th to August 18th, so that's like a 4-month push. I really enjoyed her on the Social Distance Book Festival, and she sold the hell out of that book. So it's a YA fantasy that I think sounds really interesting. And then my friend Bethany just finished reading it and said that she thought it was really good. So there you go. Another person who was on the Social Distance Book Fest was Janelle long day at work. Okay. Janelle Angelis. Where Dreams Descend. I've heard really good things about this book. I actually have this one on pre-order from bookshop.org. That was my Social Distance Book Fest pre-order that I got that day. So it got pushed from June 2nd to August 25th. So that's a pretty big change. Let's see here. I missed it if this has come up in previous videos. I've been wondering what you think of Sophie Hannah's Hercule Poirot books. People ask me this all the time. I've never talked about it in a video, though, so you did not miss it, but I get asked this constantly. I won't read those unless I just have some real change of heart or mind, and that is because I just don't think it would be fair to I think if I wasn't reviewing books, maybe I would do it, but I just don't see a situation where I could fairly evaluate those books because I just don't see a circumstance where they would live up to my expectations. So I just don't think it's fair to the books, basically, or it's fair to the author, because I think I would probably end up not giving it a very good review. And like, I'm not like the biggest book reviewer, but I have a decent sized platform. So like, I don't know. I just don't think that would be a pleasant reading experience. And why would I read something knowing that I don't think that I would be able to give it a fair chance? You know what I mean? Like that's the bottom line. I'm reluctant to ever read a book that I have such strong preconceived notions about going into it that I think I couldn't evaluate it. I almost didn't read The Final Empire by Brandon Sanderson for that reason, because I was just so tired of people telling me that I needed to read it, that I was like, am I too jaded about him as an author to even give this a fair shake? And in that case, it ended up, I didn't feel like I'd reached that point. So I felt like I could attempt it. And I even told myself, I was like, okay, if I get into this and I just feel like I'm not able to give it a fair chance, I'm just going to DNF it and not tell anybody that I tried to read it, because that just wouldn't be fair. So anyway, all that to say, from my point of view, I'm glad if people seem to really like them, which is great. It seems like a lot of people find them to be great quality. I just don't think, at least as of right now, I could give them an objective enough chance that it would be worth the risk, if any of that made sense. Let's see here. Very interested in Where Dreams Descend based on Bethany's review. Yeah, she sold me on it. So I have that as a pre-order. I just found your channel and love it. Hope you're doing well during this time. Well, thank you so much. I hope you are doing well too. I hope you're staying safe. Staying safe and well. Okay, I'm looking to see if there's any other of these releases that caught my eye that I thought people would care to know about. Let's see here. That's fair. Thanks for answering. I read them and sadly didn't enjoy them. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Yeah, I'm just worried that that would be my experience as well, and I would just feel like a bitch. So I don't want to set myself up for feeling like a jerk. And then I mentioned the Gilded Ones. Okay, so I think those were most of the books that I particularly wanted to note, but I'll put this link. There's it was updated at least as of the 3rd of April from Publishers Weekly. There's this big ass list of all the books that got pushed back that they had collected to that point. And there's probably a few hundred on this list. So I'll publish that just in case people are curious. And actually they have this by publisher, which is nice. So you can actually kind of sort through based on where you think you might be interested here. Huh, interesting. Sorry. There's a spreadsheet. It caught my attention. I love a spreadsheet. I could sit here and stare at the spreadsheet for a long time, but I will stop doing that and come back to you. Okay, so those were the books I wanted to mention. I'm just digging these live shows. Look forward to it all week. Oh, thank you, Sarah. Yeah, I've been enjoying having some of these kinds of live shows to engage with. It just kind of breaks things up a little bit, but I think it's nice to, I don't know, just have something a little different to watch or a little different to take part in. Let's see here. I had a couple of questions that I didn't get to last week that I'd saved, so let me dig those out. Okay. Oh, one person said I should talk about my opinion about Meghan and Harry. And I don't I don't understand. I don't understand what happened last week with Meghan Markle and Harry. I don't understand what happened. Something about her reading a book to her child, and I couldn't figure it out. In general, I am gotta be honest, I am truly befuddled by people who hate them. And I'm assuming it must be some sort of cultural difference or whatever. I also think pretty empirically there's a lot of racism there, but I think it's a situation where I don't know, we're so used to seeing things through that lens in the US that it's easy to identify when we see it other places. I don't know. I'm very confused by how there's such vitriol. I think that I have to say, I stand. I think it's so iconic that they were just like, "Oh no, we're good. No more of this." Yeah. So anyway, my opinion is I think she's gorgeous. I think they're a beautiful couple. I think them getting out of a situation that they felt like was abusive, or maybe that's too strong, but just not healthy for their family, good on them. But maybe if I was British, I would have a different perspective on that. Let's see here. How are the kitties coming out of their shells? Yes, they still are. I am sad. I think that because of quarantine and the fact that I can't have people over, I think is going to impact their socialization long term because they are still very scared of anybody besides me. But I took them to their first vet appointment on Saturday and they survived in one piece. And she didn't hiss at the vet. I was surprised. I was expecting her to get very hissy, but she did not. It was a contactless visit. They came out to the car and took them in their little carriers into the office. So I didn't have to feel guilty watching them get their booster shots. But no, they're doing good. They snuggle with me every morning. I wake up. He likes to sleep on my feet, and she likes to sleep right here. So I wake up to purrs every morning, which is pretty adorable. Let's see here. Somebody else asked what my favorite fruit is. If I had to pick one, I really like a raspberry. I mean, berries are fruits, so yeah. Um, let's see here. Okay. I have to sit up tall over this. Found your channel recently. I love reading Wilkie Collins and saw that in your recommendations for classic mysteries. Yes, go Wilkie. You should try reading his other novels such as No Mane or Armadale. So I read The Moonstone, which was not my favorite, even though I like adore The Woman in White. But yeah, I would definitely be open to trying more from him, just on the strength of how much I love The Woman in White. So yeah, perhaps in the future. Toxic for her in the UK. She's gorgeous. Yeah. Yep, that's kind of how I feel about it. But who knows? I'm definitely not. I'm by no means an expert. I mostly just look at adorable pictures of them as a couple and think, oh, what a sweet couple. That's pretty much the extent of my investment. I have 8-month-old kittens and they're great. They're waking me up at 5:45 a.m. though, and not with purring. Yeah, I don't know what it is about like the 5:45 to like the 6-ish o'clock hour every day they wake up. I mean, it's because that's dawn. Cats are, I don't know how to pronounce this word, crepuscular, meaning that they're most active at dawn and at dusk. I guess because like in the animal world, that's like when they have the best chance of hunting. So yeah, they definitely get the zoomies around 6. Like they come over and start like more, if they haven't been sleeping with me, they will come over and like consistently start purring and like nuzzling me. And then they start fighting each other. But I'm getting good at just like going back to sleep when they do that. And I have trained them now to be like, I feed them at the same time every day, which will roughly align with when I leave for work and when I get home from work, if I ever go back to the office. Guys, today, so I already knew that we probably were not going to be going back to the office until at best case early July. But I was chatting with my boss today and she said she'd heard allusions or rumors that we may not actually go back until like September. So like trying to process, because that means we will have been working from home for 6 months, which, you know, okay. I guess I'm just going to get real comfortable here in my office. Anyway, but I've been trying to train them so that all that to say, they don't like wake me up to feed them at 6 a.m., which is nice. Like they don't, but they like once it gets to be 8 or 8:30, they're like, girl, it's time to eat. So they definitely wake me up then. Have you read any N.K. Jemisin? I'm interested in reading something of hers, but I don't see a lot of buzz on BookTube, so sort of poking around for reviews. That's really interesting. I feel like she's actually like her, oh God, is it called Children of the Earth? The one that starts with, I can see the cover. Hold, please. The one where I figured out, I think, what the twist is. Just because of hearing people's reviews. The 5th season, there you go. The Broken Earth is the name of that trilogy. So yeah, actually I do, people definitely like her on BookTube. If you've seen reviews from Sam from Thoughts on Tomes or Elliot Brooks or Daniel Green or Murphy Napier, like I think people definitely are into her. The only thing I've read is How Long Till Black Future Month, which definitely like whet my appetite for more. I have The City We Became. It's that one right there. That one right there on my shelf. I have that. I'm gonna read that. I've heard the 5th season is fantastic, though like I said, I think part of why I've been putting it off is because I'm pretty sure I've guessed what the twist in that one is. Yeah, she's great. I'd say go for it. I've not heard anybody really say that they didn't like her, and I really enjoyed what I've read of her. Let's see here. With quarantine happening everywhere, have you been able to catch up more on your reading, less or roughly the same amount? You know, I've been coming out of a reading slump. from March just because of surgery and all that stuff. So I have been reading, I think now, like as of now, I'm reading about the same again. But for a while, I was definitely reading less. I find it much harder to focus on reading during quarantine. Last week, I think I was talking about how my hypothesis as to why is because I don't have the same like rhythm to my day. So it used to be like at work, not all the time, but I would usually be able to kind of like get in an hour or two of an audiobook sometime during the day. I would often listen to an audiobook on my way home, or, you know, if I, God forbid, actually got to take a little bit of like a lunch break, maybe read it. It was just sort of like reading felt like something I could kind of slot in, and I had more energy to do that. And now that I don't have a commute, for some reason, it's just hard for me when I'm done with work at the end of the day to like switch into at home mode. So it just makes it harder for me to switch and focus on reading. And I don't know. Yeah, I guess just because I don't have the same level of structure. I've tried to be good about, we're in my office right now. Like during the day, I come in here and I work in here. Like I don't sit out in my living room. I don't work in my bedroom. Like I try to be good at least about like going to the office insofar as like this is where I do work. Excuse me. But even just that isn't enough for me to feel like I have these distinct times. So anyway, all that to say, I think I'm beginning to read roughly the same amount, but it's been a struggle. And I feel like a lot of people are in a slump. Have you read Judith Butler before? I've not finished all of Gender Trouble, but I've read sections of it. Definitely super interesting stuff that I find pretty compelling. Stay safe, Nanette, and good night to you. I've been rereading books from my bookshelf as I'm organizing them, and I rediscovered Sylvia Plath. What do you think of her poetry? I've not, I feel like, read enough of it to be super opinionated, but she's one of the, like, I've never read The Bell Jar. That's a classic I'd like to get to, but yeah, I think a lot of poets from that era, I think, are very, like, imitable. Does that make sense? Like, I feel like there's definitely a certain vibe to that era of poetry that I think it's easy to sort of mimic almost parodically, and therefore I think sometimes it's hard to read the original and appreciate it for what it is. Does that make sense? So I don't know. That's like my very ill-informed impression of her work. Let's see here. Yoli is shouting out hashtag RomBKLove for the month of May. It's a hashtag on Twitter, and they're putting up a bunch of different recommendations. So that's something to think about. Yeah, the Bell Jar rereading. Yeah, I really would like to read the Bell Jar. Just haven't gotten to it yet. There's too many books, not enough time. Have you read any D.H. Dublin? Nope, never even heard of D.H. Dublin, so definitely haven't read it. Where do you get your audiobooks? I discovered LibriVox a while ago and honestly opened my world to more books from classic authors I'd never heard of, since it's all done by volunteer readers. That's awesome. I get most of my audiobooks from the library through Overdrive or through Libby. I do have a Scribd subscription, though I've really not been using it the last few months. I should probably cancel that. So sometimes I will get audiobooks through there. And then I do right now have my Audible account active just because there were some pre-order audiobooks that I wanted to buy. I use Audible as my way, like if there's an author who I want to support by buying a book from them, but I would prefer to get it as an audiobook. That's kind of my main use of Audible, to be totally honest. I tried their romance Audible package add-on thing, which I think is pretty good, but isn't something that I would like. It wouldn't make me keep Audible, if that makes sense. Like, it's sort of a nice ancillary if you can get a free trial or whatever, but it's not, I think, that exciting. But yeah, honestly, the library is the number one place I get my audiobooks from. God bless the library. God bless the ebooks at the library. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Very thankful for Nashville has a fantastic e-collection, and I think we've all been very thankful for it during this time. I've noticed some of the lines for things have been longer. Some of the wait lists have been longer, which hopefully means people are using it, which hopefully means that people will continue to fund it. Yeah, ebooks are definitely lifesavers. And then let's see here. One last one that I didn't get to last week. Love how you curate and PM your content. I never thought about that. I guess I do. I guess I do PM my content. Oh man, that's depressing. Okay. Anyway, that's what I do for my job. So it's depressing to realize that I kind of do that for here too. How tall are you is my question. I am not tall. I am 5'2" and 3/4. So 5'3" but I am but a wee lass. I always say I'm like a teapot. I'm like short and stout. So it is funny though, because on YouTube you can't really tell how tall people are. So sometimes when you meet them in person, it's a little bit surprising. Let's see here. Despite having a couple of shelves of physical TBR, I've been reading nothing but library ebooks. I keep waiting. Like, I don't think I can do it in June, but maybe July. I need to get far enough ahead in my ARC reading that I really would like to take a month and do nothing but read from my library wish list whatever is available. Like, just randomly, like whatever is available at that moment, things that I put on my wish list however long ago, just like grab them, or like as holds come available, whatever. Like, that just sounds like such a lovely version of mood reading. But the problem is that usually I have a couple of arcs that I need to be reading in any given month, so it's hard to make that happen, but maybe. Five one. Whoop, whoop. Oh yeah, I don't know what that is in metric. I'm sorry, guys. We don't really do metric in the US. We learn it for school and then we immediately forget it. To be fair, the reason the US is not on the metric system is because we literally were not invited to the conference where everyone else agreed to be on it. Okay, 2 questions about the Hunger Games. What do you feel is the main theme of the Hunger Games book? Which is your favorite Hunger Games book? I liked the second one the best. Which one was that? Catching Fire. And I'm going to go with the classic Man's Inhumanity to Man as the main theme. I read a ton of ebooks from the library here in New Mexico. We don't have the greatest selection for any of the new stuff. That's too bad. Yeah, it's really it's kind of luck of the draw. I don't know why Nashville has like probably the best selection, like the best ebook collection I've seen. And like, if you request something, they get it immediately. I've been very impressed. So we're lucky, but yeah, it's kind of luck of the draw, isn't it? Oop, same. Which flavors of Bones coffee do you like? I really like the caramel one, the salted caramel, and the Highland Grog. Those are my 2 favorites. And then I like the Candyland Christmas one. That's good too. Will you read the Hunger Games prequel, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes? It does sound like it has an interesting premise. No, I don't. I'm going to be honest. When I got to the end of that series, I felt dead inside. No, no, kind of, yes. But I just, I feel like I've had my fill of that world and that time. I totally get why people would be into it. Last week we were talking a little bit about the Twilight, like Midnight Sun, and I feel similarly about this as I do about that, in the sense of like there's just so many books trying to get attention. I guess I just wish books that were not kind of like retreading new ground or in the same world were not going to suck up so much oxygen from publishing. That said, at least this is a different story in that world. And I think if you were really invested in that original series and found the ending really satisfying, or really ended up loving that trilogy, I can totally see why people would be interested in reading it. Just for me, I don't need to go back there. Like, I kind of got burned the first time. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, more power to anybody who's interested in it, but just not something I'm super passionate about. I just have so many other things. Basically, I have so many other things that I would rather spend my time reading, I guess, is the bottom line. I thought you were tall. No, I am a little shorty. Loved your video on how to read faster. It helped a lot. I'm so glad. So glad. What is a character trait, and why does she keep assigning the... Oh, I think I missed the back half of that. Do you think that's a good choice? I think it's kind of a stunt, but it's fine. Just found out that D.H. Dublin, John McGoran, but I'm currently reading Body Trace, and there's death right off the bat. Well, if there's going to be death in a mystery, I do think it should be right off the bat, so I approve. Okay, YouTube channel is really into Hunger Games, which great. We've all got our faves. Yeah, I talked about this last week. I don't like Twilight, and I wish that publishing attention was being paid to something more original, but I'm sure it will make everyone involved a lot of money. So, and you know, publishing is supported by the few blockbusters it has every year. So if this is going to be a blockbuster that will support other smaller books finding their way into the world, I guess that is for the good. I mean, if I had to pick, I'd rather pick another book in the Hunger Worlds game than Twilight World. Hunger Games holds up better. Yeah, I guess I probably would too. I mean, well, that's true. I didn't like Twilight, so yeah. But to me, it's the same overall premise in terms of YA that we should be done with by now. It's just my opinion. I agree with you about reading more in the Hunger Games universe. It feels like the trilogy was good and satisfied me. I don't want to go back. Yeah, I mean, that's usually my best and worst of series video I always do at the end of the year. I always put a category, like one of the questions is always, what book in a series do you wish had been a standalone? And that is something I tend to kind of take seriously. Like, I think series need to justify their existence. Like, I don't think that there should be a ton of books in a world just cause. So I'm not going to read that one because that's a spoiler. So I'm guessing Midnight Sun is Edward's coming of age into vamphood because it's marketed as YA. I don't know. I mean, but he's like an octogenarian in the original series. I mentioned this last week. I remember when I first read those books being like icked out that he basically had like a blood boner for Bella in his like high school lab, even though he's an old man in a young person's body. Like, it's just weird. I don't know. Oh, okay. Did you ever finish reading The Count of Monte Cristo? No, I was reading that right when I got my surgery, so I will come back to it. Though I was enjoying it. I got it 50% probably through my reread, so I'm hoping I can make myself get back to it. But life happened, man. March was a gajillion years long. There was tornadoes. I got my cats. I had emergency surgery. We all had this lovely quarantine happen. Like, it was quite a month. So I just had to let some things go that month. Okay, guys, my mouth is parched. So I think I'm going to dip, but I will be back same time next week. Yeah, I agree. It seems like a lot of series are running into this issue with justifying a book's existence. Harry Potter and the Cursed Child, yeah. I just let sleeping dogs lie, guys. Interesting reason for a series. Is there a particular series you think is executed well and justifies itself as a series? I mean, a lot of them do. Yeah, there's plenty of series that I think are totally fine. It's more just that I think it's notable when, like, I feel like you can kind of feel it when there's a plan, or at least like a reason to keep going in a series, where versus like when it just becomes rote. So, yeah. Okay. Well, yes, good night, everyone. Thank you for joining. Like I said, we'll be back next Tuesday. So, I hope you all are well. Stay safe. We'll talk soon. Have a good week. Bye.